They say you never really know a person until you see how they act when no one is watching. I thought I knew my best friend. I thought I knew my fiancé. But last Saturday, at my own engagement party, I realized I didn't know anything at all. My name is Emma. I'm 28 years old. I'm a graphic designer. And up until 3 days ago, I had the perfect life. A loving fiancé, a beautiful apartment, and a best friend who had been by my side since we were 7. Her name is Chloe. We met in 2nd grade. She moved from California. She was the new girl with the pink backpack and the missing front tooth. I was the shy kid sitting alone at lunch. She sat next to me, offered me half her peanut butter sandwich, and we were inseparable ever since. We went to prom together. We were each other's maids of honor. We held each other's hair back when we were sick. We knew each other's darkest secrets, biggest fears, deepest insecurities. She was my sister, not by blood, but by choice. When I met Mark 3 years ago at a coffee shop, Chloe was the first person I told. She screamed with me over the phone for 30 minutes. She helped me pick my outfit for our first date. She analyzed every text he sent like it was the Da Vinci Code, she said. And I remember these exact words. Emma, if he ever breaks your heart, I will personally hunt him down and make his life a living hell. I laughed. I hugged her. I thought she was the safest person in my world. I was so blind. Let me take you back to that night. Saturday, 7 p.m., our engagement party. We rented a nice rooftop bar downtown. Fairy lights, champagne, about 50 of our closest friends and family. Mark wore that navy blue suit I bought for his birthday. He looked handsome. He looked happy. He kissed my forehead and whispered, "This is the best night of my life." I believed him. Chloe arrived at 7:30. She wore a red dress. That's important. A red backless dress that she knew was too revealing for a party where my conservative grandmother was present. But I didn't say anything. I never said anything. Chloe was always the wild one. That was just her personality. She hugged me tightly and said, "You are going to be the most beautiful bride in history." I smiled. I thanked her. I asked her to take photos with me for Instagram. She posed. She smiled. She looked me right in the eyes and lied to my face. Because while she was hugging me, while she was smiling at me, while she was calling me her soulmate, she was texting my fiancés under the table. I didn't know it then. Obviously, I didn't know it then. If I had known, I would have taken that champagne glass and thrown it right at her perfect little face. But here's the thing about betrayal. It never comes with a warning sign. It never announces itself. It creeps in like a thief in the night. It started small. About 3 months ago, I noticed Mark was acting distant. He came home later from work. He spent more time on his phone. He would angle the screen away when I walked into the room. I asked if everything was okay. He said work was stressful. A big project, deadlines, you know how it is. I believed him. Why wouldn't I? He was my fiancé. He held my hand when my father passed away. He stayed up all night with me when I had food poisoning. He learned my mother's lasagna recipe just because I said I missed her cooking. He wasn't the type to cheat. But you know what I've learned? There is no type. There is no man immune to temptation. There is only opportunity. An opportunity is a hungry beast. Let me tell you about the first red flag. It was a Thursday, a rainy Thursday. I had left my laptop at Mark's office. He borrowed it for a presentation, and I decided to surprise him with dinner. I picked up his favorite Thai food and took an Uber to his building. I didn't tell him I was coming. I wanted to see his face when I walked in, that beautiful, surprised smile he always had. But when I got to his office door, it was slightly ajar. I heard laughter. Chloe's laugh. That loud, attention-seeking laugh she did when she thought something was hilarious. I froze. I peeked through the crack. And there she was, Chloe, sitting on the edge of his desk, leaning forward, touching his shoulder, her face inches from his. She wore that red dress again, the same one from my engagement party. Apparently, she had been wearing it for him long before that night. Mark was laughing too. He leaned back in his chair, relaxed, comfortable. He wasn't backing away. He wasn't telling her to stop. He was just enjoying it. I stood there for a full minute. My hand was shaking. The Thai food was getting cold. I wanted to burst in. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw that pad Thai right in their faces. But I didn't. I couldn't. I was frozen. My body refused to move. And then Chloe looked up. She looked straight at the door. Straight at me. Her eyes locked with mine. She didn't flinch. She didn't jump back. She didn't look guilty. She just smiled, slowly, like she knew something. I didn't. She turned to Mark and said loudly enough for me to hear. So anyway, about the surprise for Emma. She's going to love it. The surprise. She made it sound innocent. I convinced myself I was overreacting. I convinced myself Chloe was just being Chloe, flirty, touchy, affectionate. She had always been like that. That was just her personality, right? Right. That's what I told myself all the way home. But the second red flag came a week later. I was at Chloe's apartment for wine and movie night. Our tradition. Every other Friday. Sacred and unbreakable. But that night, something was different. She was distracted. She kept checking her phone. She would smile at the screen, type quickly, then hide the phone under the couch. I asked who she was texting. She said, "Oh, just this guy from work. He's so annoying. He won't leave me alone." I laughed and teased her. I said, "Well, is he cute?" She gave me a weird look, a long look. Then she said, "He's not really my type, but he's persistent." I didn't think much of it. I poured more wine. I put on the movie, but I couldn't shake this feeling in my gut. A cold, creeping feeling that something was off. And then her phone buzzed again. She picked it up, read the message, and her entire face changed. Her cheeks flushed. She bit her bottom lip. That was her tell. I had known her for 21 years. I knew every single tell. That lip bite meant she was excited. That lip bite meant she was turned on. I asked her, "Who is that?" She said, "Nobody. Just spam." She put the phone face down. Then she looked at me and asked, "Do you ever wonder if you settled too early?" I choked on my wine. I asked what she meant. She said, "Nothing, just thinking out loud. You and Mark are so perfect. Sometimes I wonder if perfect is boring." I laughed nervously. I said, "Boring is safe. Boring is stable. Boring lasts." She looked at me with pity, sad pity, and she said, "If you say so, Em." That night I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed next to Mark, staring at the ceiling, replaying her words. Perfect is boring. What did she mean? Was she talking about me? About Mark? About herself? I turned to look at him. He was sleeping peacefully. His hand rested on my hip. He looked so innocent, so trustworthy. I felt guilty for questioning him. I closed my eyes and forced myself to sleep. But the next morning, I awoke to find his phone on the nightstand. He had left for work early. He forgot it. I know what you're thinking. I shouldn't have looked. I know, but that little voice inside told me to pick it up. So I did. His passcode was our anniversary, 2114. I typed it in and opened his messages. I scrolled through. His mom, his boss, his gym buddy, everything looked normal. I was about to put the phone down when I saw a name I didn't recognize. The contact was saved as just a letter, C, just C. My heart pounded. I opened the chat, and there it was. A thread going back 2 months. 2 months of conversations I was never meant to see. The first message from C said, "Last night was fun. We should do it again sometime." Mark replied, "Absolutely. But we have to be careful. Emma can't find out." I felt like someone had punched my stomach. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't see. The room spun. I scrolled up further. There were photos. Photos of a woman in a red dress. Photos of Chloe. Photos of her in Mark's car. Photos of her in his office. Photos of her in my apartment. Wearing my clothes, sitting on my couch, smiling at my fiancé like she owned him. And then I saw the videos. Short clips. Just seconds each. But enough. More than enough. I dropped the phone. It clattered to the floor. I ran to the bathroom and threw up. I knelt on the cold tile, gasping for air, crying so hard I couldn't see straight. My best friend, my fiancé, my entire future. It was all a lie. I stayed in the bathroom for 2 hours. I couldn't move. I couldn't think. I just sat there staring at the wall, trying to process what I had seen. When I finally came out, I picked up Mark's phone again. I needed to see more. I needed to understand. I scrolled to the very beginning. It started 6 months ago. 6 months. For 6 months, they had been sneaking around behind my back. For 6 months, Chloe had been coming to my apartment when I was at work. For 6 months, she'd been sleeping with the man I was supposed to marry. And the worst part? Reading their conversations about me. Mark wrote, "Emma is planning our wedding. She wants a fall wedding." "It's so cute." Chloe replied, "Cute? It's pathetic. She has no idea. She's living in a fantasy world." Mark said, "I know. I feel guilty sometimes." Chloe said, "Don't. She doesn't deserve you." "She never did. You and I are meant to be together. Be patient. I'll handle Emma. She'll be okay. She'll get over it. She's strong." I started shaking, crying again, but the tears were different now. Not sadness, pure burning rage. How dare she? How dare she say those things about me? I was her best friend. I held her hand when her parents divorced. I paid her rent when she lost her job. I drove 3 hours to pick her up when her car broke down. I loved her like a sister. And this is how she repaid me. Sleeping with my fiancé and calling me pathetic? I couldn't stay in that apartment. I couldn't look at that bed where Mark and I had slept. I couldn't look at the couch where Chloe had smiled at me like she was my friend. I grabbed my keys, my purse. I walked out the door and didn't look back. I drove to a hotel. I checked in under a fake name. I didn't want anyone to find me. I turned off my phone. No messages, no lies, just silence. For 3 days I stayed there. Didn't eat, didn't sleep. Just stared at the ceiling and replayed every moment, every hug, every kiss, every look across the table. It was all performance. On the 4th day, I turned my phone back on. 200 messages. 50 from Mark, 100. And 50 from Chloe, I deleted. All of them without reading. I called my mother. She answered on the first ring. She said, "Emma, where have you been? We've been so worried." I said, "Mom, I need to tell you something." And I told her everything. She was silent for a long time. Then she said, "I always knew that girl was trouble." I said, "Why didn't you tell me?" She said, "Because you loved her. You wouldn't have listened." She was right. I wouldn't have listened. I would have defended Chloe. I would have called my mother paranoid. I would have chosen Chloe over anyone. That was our friendship. Me giving, her taking. I just never saw it until now. I decided to go home. Not my apartment, not Mark, my mother's house. She made tea. She held me while I cried. Then she said, "Okay, Emma, now you have a decision. You can let them destroy you, or you can destroy them." I looked at her. I wiped my tears. I said, "I'm going to destroy them." I had a plan. Simple, beautiful. I would expose them. Not just to friends, not just to family, to everyone. I would make sure the whole world knew exactly who they were. First step, gathering evidence. I went back to the apartment while Mark was at work. I took photos of everything. His phone, his laptop, his emails, his messages. I downloaded everything to a USB drive. Hotel receipts, credit card statements, gift receipts for jewelry he bought her, jewelry he never bought me, messages about their future, their house, their kids, their life together, a life that was supposed to be mine. I took photos of all of it. I organized everything in a folder on my computer. Then I waited for the perfect moment. It came 3 days later. Mark called me. He was crying. He said, "Emma, please come home. I miss you. I love you." I said, "Do you? Do you love me, Mark?" He said, "Of course I do. You're the only one I've ever loved." I said, "Then why did you sleep with my best friend?" Silence, long, painful silence. Then he said, "How do you know about that?" I laughed. I laughed so hard I almost cried. I said, "Mark, I know everything. I know about the hotel. I know about the gifts. I know about the 6 months of lies. And I know about the videos." He started panicking. He said, "Emma, please, let me explain. It's not what you think." I said, "Then what is it? Tell me." He said, "She seduced me. She came onto me. I was weak. I'm so sorry." I said, "You're sorry that you got caught. You're not sorry for what you did." I hung up. Then I called Chloe. She answered on the first ring. She said, "Emma, thank God. I've been so worried." I said, "Chloe, I know." She said, "You know what?" I said, "I know everything. I know about you and Mark. I know about the 6 months. I know about the videos." She was silent for a moment. Then she said, "Okay, good." I said, "What do you mean good?" She said, "I mean, I'm glad you finally know. Because I was getting really tired of pretending. I couldn't believe it." I said, "You were tired of pretending?" She said, "Yes, Emma. I was tired of pretending you were the better one. I was tired of pretending your life was perfect. I was tired of pretending I was happy for you." I said, "Chloe, I loved you. I was your best friend." She said, "No, you weren't. You were the one who always had everything. Perfect family, perfect boyfriend, perfect job. And I always had nothing. I watched you live the life I wanted, and you didn't even care. You were too busy being perfect to notice how miserable I was." I said, "That's not true. I always helped you. I always supported you." She said, "You helped me because it made you feel better. You supported me because it made you look good. You never really cared about me. You only cared about how I made you feel." I was speechless. I had never heard her speak like that. She had hidden this resentment for years. Years of pretending while secretly hating me. She said, "Mark was never yours, Emma. He was always mine. He just didn't know it yet. And now he does. So congratulations. You lost the man and you lost the friend. But to be fair, you never really had either one." Then she hung up. I sat there holding the phone, staring at the wall. For the first time in my life, I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't throw anything. I just sat there completely numb, and that's when I realized she was wrong. Wrong about everything. Mark was never hers, and she was never my friend. She was just a parasite who fed on my life, my happiness, and my trust. And parasites need to be eliminated. I opened my laptop. I inserted the USB drive. I uploaded everything to a private website, and I sent the link to everyone I knew. Our friends, our families, her co-workers, his boss, everyone. The title of the page was simple. It said, "The Truth About Chloe and Mark." Below it I wrote, "I hope you both enjoy your new life together, because I'm going to enjoy mine. Without either of you, that was the end of my old life, and the beginning of my new one. I moved to a new city. I changed my number. I blocked them both everywhere. I started therapy. I started running. I started painting again, something I hadn't done in years. And slowly, day by day, I started to heal. I still think about them sometimes. The betrayal still stings. But I don't hate them anymore. I pity them, because they will never have what I have now. Real peace, real freedom, real love for myself. And that, my dear viewers, is the best revenge of all. Thank you for listening to my story. If you enjoyed it, please like, comment, and subscribe. And remember, sometimes the people closest to you are the ones who hurt you the most. But you can survive it. You can thrive after it. I did, and so can you.